Cold at the touch, dead in the eyes, no signs of life no more. I put your love under the knife. Leave me to die here all alone. No signs of life no more, no. A crying dove may never fly. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. Just black and white. Black and white, just let me go. It's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Just let me go. It's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. Just black and white. Black and white.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to SimRacer's World for the SimracerCoin Sunday GT Masters Round 10 here at Oulton Park. My name is Hasse Rømer. I am joined by Edward May in the comms booth for tonight's round of action here. And it's going to be a great one indeed. Edward, your expectations for a track that is very much home soil for you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, Hasse. And yes, welcome everyone to Oulton Park. The 10th round of the SimracerCoin Sunday GT3 Masters makes its way down to the UK into, well, the situation, a place where there used to be a nice little country park, a little sort of fancy residence used by kings and queens back in the days of yore, but now is home to a wonderful Great British racing circuit. And you can see that it is a Brit currently topping the times in practice. Matthew Forrest, a virtual racing compound. He has been very strong all championship long, and he's going to be looking to try and extend his gap, his margin to the rest of the field with a good performance here. You can just see him coming across the line now, but he has definitely been kept honest by Gaston Macaroni, who's currently in the pits. But I tell you what, Hasse, over these past few rounds, Gaston has been coming on really strong. An amazing performance that saw him finish very strongly and was in contention for a race victory. Let's not forget, last time out at Road America. So he is one to watch, that's for certain.
Yeah, indeed, and a driver who's really found his form at this mid stage of the season, and indeed, a little bit of a surprise performance this time out, though. A lot of new things up to consider. There is a new Ferrari, very similar to the old one, but yet different. And amongst other things, a quite substantial tire model update as well. We'll see if it's the usual suspects who do well and come out on top, or if there will indeed be some changes to the running order, as we've seen it. And speaking of the running order and the championship fight, it is Peter Plastow actually taking advantage of Matthew Forrest missing a race there last time out, and now leading by a single point. 197 points to Peter Plastow's name, 196 Matthew Forrest. Then Martin de Jong, the steady Dutchman, being third ahead of Nick McLaughlin. And it's Timothy van der Broek in 5th place in the standings, ahead of reigning champ Koen Mulder. Got a single point on Nils Cornelis, who's 7th, ahead of Cody Steek, Nicolas Cucato, and Luc Schneider. That rounds off the top 10 of the standings coming into this 10th round of action. And indeed, a fixed setup round as well. We do have alternating setups, I would say. So the odd numbered rounds are open setups, and that's also something to contend with for the drivers. They might want to do some changes to the cars that on some rounds of this season is just isn't going to be available to them.
Yeah, but this is the first round of the season where we've had some new tweaks, haven't we, to iRacing's tyre models. The GT3s have had somewhat of a revamp over the past few days, with obviously the tyre parameters being updated and things like the traction control and also ABS characteristics having a few minor improvements here and there. So the drivers with these fixed setups are able to, I guess, just try and find the sweet spot, get the car in the way that iRacing has set it up to be driven, and then of course in the next couple of weeks we'll be able to see them with open setups and they can then have the freedom to do as they wish. But let's go on board now with Matthew Forrest as we come to the latter stages of practice for a flying lap. So on board we go into Old Hall Corner, so name because that was where the old country hall was before it burnt down sadly several years ago. And then down they come through Cascades, the long sweeping left-hander, getting on the power nice and early, using all of that runoff area. You can get away with a little bit, but not too much. Don't push your luck. And then an amazing section, getting it through the island bend, just send it through, carry the momentum, and then get onto the brakes, down through the gears into Shell Oil's corner. Really carry carrying the speed there, using the camber to great effect, hitting a nice tight line, and then you're coming up to the Britain's chicane over the curbs, trying to maximize to get as close as you can to that right-hand side tyre barrier, and then power down they go through the hilltop straight, and then into Knickerbrook. Again, hard onto the brakes, turn in nice and early, open up the corner again, get as close as you dare to those tyre stacks, and then again you come through now. Knickerbrook is such a crucial corner to get right because you're flat out all the way over Clay Hill and into Druids, one of the most famed corners in British circuit racing because you carry a lot of momentum through double apex right-hander. Very brave Nomad Ferrero on the exit. As you can see there, just grass and a wall. And then into Lodge Corner to end out the lap. And then, of course, over Deer Leap. They'll break the timing beam. And that was a lap of Oulton Park, courtesy of Matthew Forrest.
Indeed, and courtesy of Edward May as well for the brilliant talk through there. Thank you so much. The learning experience for me, I am slightly familiar with the track, but it's one of the tracks that I haven't had that much experience with yet, and I'm pleased to be here to because it isn't it. Oh, oof. Peter Plastow catches the outside grass,
and this has been a recurring thing for Pete. Really, he's been struggling for pace, I think, over this round. You can see he's down in 7th place, but his championship positioning would tell you something different. You'd expect it to be right up there battling with the likes of Matthew Forrest to try and take pole position, but I think this could be down to, of course, the old Ferrari getting moved to legacy content. And I believe all of the drivers here are using, or all of the Ferrari runners rather, are using the GT Evo version, the most recently introduced car to iRacing's impressive lineup of GT3s.
Yeah, indeed, and something to along with the tire update that I've only tried it on the newly added Porsche Cup machine, which is also an absolute blast to drive in my opinion, but seems to be a very positive update to the tire mechanics, and maybe having added a little bit of extra progression there. Is it the old version? Could be the old version. I'm actually not sure. So similar they are that I couldn't tell the difference. We spoke about it before the race, to be honest, and I said to Edward, "Well, Edward, isn't that the regular old Ferrari?" And Edward was quite sure it was the new one. I'm actually not sure, to be honest. Oh, whoa. Peter Plastow again. Every time we cut to him, it seems kiss the wall.
Kiss that tire barrier.
Yeah, that's certainly a point of interest as well. When we get to the race, no room for error in that chicane, and certainly a place that you had to be quite careful about.
Yeah, and I've definitely felt the bite of those tiles. That's for certain. They are there to stop you from cutting the corner and gaining an advantage, but from making a mistake there, it does punish you very, very hard indeed. Going out to, I think, driver that I haven't seen too much of, Bruno Guedes, who is for the GTZ Bulls, doing a good job of all. That's Alfredo Tricarici going through the Shell Oil corner. That has to be a new, oh my word, these two drivers are really in the wars, aren't they? Bruno Guedes again struggling and just slamming it into the tire wall in frustration. I think here is a replay of this. It was just, a little bit too hot into the chicane. Nice livery though, isn't it, on that lovely Mercedes AMG GT3? Amazing sound as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. The sound, I think it seems to be a divider of waters as well, but it does indeed have a bit of grunt. I really prefer the screamy engines a bit more than the grunty one. Again, question of taste. As practice ticks over, and we've got 15 minutes of qualifying to get underway with, of course, the race here tonight. As per usual in the Sunday GT Masters, always the tried and tested VRS sprint format. So it's 45 minutes of racing and a 50% fuel cap, meaning that we'll have pit stops around the 30-minute marker. or somewhere thereabouts. Pete Plastow quickly out on track here. Very quickly indeed, and much quicker than most other drivers. It's only beaten to it by Timothy Vanderbroek in the 611 BMW. Timothy Vanderbroek in 5th place in the standings at the moment. So also a driver who's looking for that little bit extra. He's had a good season, a steady season so far, but he's also proved that he can be up there at the very pointy end. I think he, if everything works out and the stars align, could be.
He's going to be hungry, isn't he?
Yeah, he is indeed.
He's coming off of the back of quite an impressive performance, really. You have to say, last time out, it's been quite strong in terms of the pace he showed at Road America. And, well, in practice, like you see, he was currently 7th fastest driver in practice, ahead of, obviously, some of the bigger hitters, some of the drivers that you would expect to maybe be a little bit further ahead of him. Obviously, the likes of Koen Mulder being one of them, Sander Kaffer as well down there, down through the order a little bit, but we're going to be able to see Timothy Vanderbroek actually start his first flying lap. And another thing to note is change tyre racing have affected the BOP. Now, the BMW used to be the car to be. If you were in any of the officials, you would have seen an entire just grid full of that car, that BMW, because it was such a stable platform, but you could also wring its neck out and get a lot of speed from it as well, which was a very dangerous combination to try and go up against. Consistency, stability, but also raw pace. So we're going to see if Timothy Vanderbroek can master the BMW now with its changes that have been made, maybe a few tweaks here and there to adjust the balance of performance, perhaps.
Indeed, it's something we've seen before. The meta car turns into a slower version of itself, so to say, and the opposition catches up all of a sudden. And you wouldn't want to be the people who have to test it. It's a bit of a moment on his flying lap there, indeed.
Really struggling, I think, through that chicane. You can see that he carried a bit too much speed in, and maybe turned in a little bit too late as well. Turning in nice and early, helps out. And again, coming through Knickerbrook, a little bit of a slide on an overcorrection for oversteer there. So losing out to Vanderbroek, this won't be his dream lap to start this qualifying session. But of course, all the drivers, they have a full 15 minutes to set a lap. So this isn't going to be the be-all and end-all for Timothy Vanderbroek. In fact, maybe he's taking a little while to get his tyres up into the perfect operating window. It can sometimes take one flying lap before the tyres are properly heated and ready. So we're going to see what will come of this. The first times will start to come through, though. Timothy Vanderbroek does not actually set a fast time. I think there was an invalidation probably on that first chicane that we saw. But Pete Plastow, best of the field so far, with a very respectable 1 minute 32.69. Savino Melillo there, second place for him. Time is just trickling on through as Nick McLaughlin and Chris Pio come through. And again, good to see that drivers are still opting to use the Ford GT, Chris Pio, and as well, and the other Ford runner of Matt Sisler still here this evening. So we're going to be getting our Ford GT fix just yet anyway. So do not fret, the car hasn't vanished. It's still here, even though obviously newer cars are coming through each and every day. Ford is still a favourite for some.
Yeah, indeed, it's a car we cherish on the grid here of the Sunday GT Casters. Well, it's a blast from the past, you could say, the Ford GT, and of course not the original version of the car, but certainly not the freshest iteration of the car either, because there's been the entire Ford GTE project that has taken place between the time of this car actually racing and where we are nowadays. Remco Barlow's here as well, and he'll be trying to extract the most from his BMW machine. Currently fifth in qualifying, so we'll see just how it's going to work out for the relative newcomer. Had his debut last time around, and certainly showed off signs of great promise, and I think it's going to be one to watch for the latter part of this.
Yeah, definitely. Remco Barlow showing good turn of pace as well. Drivers that are relatively new Eric Luke for Virtual Racing Compound up there in 6th place at the moment. You can just see him coming through the double apex right-hander of Druids, coming to the end of, I believe, his second flying lap. So you'll see him through Lodge Corner. Could have left a little bit more on the entry into the corner, but still powers out nicely. You're going to be getting a slight tow from the car in front. I believe that to be Niels Cornelis, who's just up in front down the road. And then who's that coming out of the pits? Was that Nick McLaughlin or Pete Plasdow?
That's a good question.
It was just coming out of the pits.
Yeah, that was Nick McLaughlin indeed. And Virtual Racing Compound 1, 2, 3 at the moment, but surprisingly so, Matthew Forrest not able to grab pole position. You mentioned Peter Plastow and the fact that he looked to be struggling on pace. Well, he doesn't look to be struggling much on pace, but very, very, very close. The two fastest lap separated by 2,000 of a second. So close hardly describes the distance between the two cars on the front.
And he's winding up for another flying lap.
Yeah,
that was not a fast lap for him. He was just cooling the tyres down. You can see through Lodge he was leaving a lot on the table, so he's winding up for another flying lap. But we will go to, well, this is Nick on out lap. Gaston Macaroni not setting the timing screens alight at all. We were expecting him to be much faster from recent form, but he is on a flying lap now, so we'll go on this beautiful shot right at the front, just kissing the tarmac as he comes down through the Cascades, and then into Island Bend, sending it through, leaning on the tyres, and then having to slam it on the anchors as we've seen a change up at the front of the field. Martin de Jong in the Audi has been able to dethrone the Virtual Racing Compound 1, 2, 3, and now unfortunately it's a Virtual Racing Compound 2, 3, 4, as Matthew Forrest now goes marginally faster than teammate Pete Plasdow to take second place, but not enough to usurp Martin de Jong. That is a very impressive time, and there's been a coming together at the Shell Oil hairpin. You can see two cars off into the gravel, into the tyre barriers there. Oh, what on earth happened there, Hasse?
Yeah, we're gonna have another look, but there's a few incidents here. Oh, this might be a part of it. It's Alfredo Tricarici. And I'm afraid this has been going on for quite some time. This is Cole Mulder leaving the pits. Not what we're interested in looking at. Here's Tricarici, who dips onto the grass, coming into it, and is he gonna take with him someone? Nope. It's two separate. Oh my word! That was two separate incidents. Three, if you will, almost. I think Stephen Orrell might have been
sent.
Yeah, and the last driver involved in that one was that Stuart Jacklin.
I believe it was I think you might be right there. I think that could have been Stuart Jacklin. Yes. So the 86 going into the 68. You're going to see exactly how it happened. Oh my word.
That is...
You can see he was onto the gravel, no control. No matter what you do, if you slam on the anchors, there's no way you're getting that car stopped. It's all about just hoping there won't be contact. Unfortunately, there was, but there's still plenty of time in qualifying for the drivers to try and get a little bit more out. And look at the consistency from Matthew Forrest. His fastest time was a 1 minute 32.606. That was a 1 minute 32.628, so very close in the times. That's going to be scary for the race, the fact that he can do these lap times consistently over the course of the race distance. You can see Nick McLaughlin as well, just back there, trying to find a way through. He's going to see if there's any improvements coming through. Gaston Macaroni now up into the top 10. Good to see him finding a bit of pace finally in this qualifying session as we come into the final 5.5 minutes. Coming through Druids now. Oh, careful not to get too wide on the exit. You can really unset the balance, the flow of the car, and also potentially get speared off into that right-hand Armco barrier that is very close. Now powering out of the final corner, coming over Deer's Leap. What will it be for Gaston? As he crosses the line, he's currently 9th. Is there an improvement? No, there isn't. Invalidation of a lap time somewhere along that run. But he's going to have 5 minutes to try and get a little bit better of a lap time to maybe see if he can crack into the 1 minute 32s.
I'm just looking through here, Edward, but my apologies, but I'm trying to figure out, is it actually the evil? I think is indeed not. Oh, it is the old version, and it, from what I understand, even that it's a case that all the drivers, of course, have to sort of agree upon that they move on to the new evolution of the car, but it is indeed the legacy version of the Ferrari running here. So that's a question out of the way. Stiga was indeed correct. And a very warm welcome, by the way, to everyone watching on YouTube tonight. We're live only on YouTube, and that is because we have the Sunday drivers at 5 coming. It's going to be starting before we end live stream. And actually, a short gap of around 5 minutes, that'll be it. But nothing more indeed. And that is the double jack attack with Jack Oliphant and Pete. Is always worth watching and listening to as well. Here's Eric Luke having grabbed 4th place now with a 1:32.852. Still ahead of Nick McLaughlin, Chris Roberts, who've done well for himself so far. Virtual Racing Compound, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th at the moment. Martin de Jong holding on to pole position, and Chris Roberts feeling the heat there. He made contact, I believe, with the tires, and that sent him around. And if I haven't said it before, I think I do owe a bit of an apology to Chris Roberts, who for some time, and I mean some time indeed, we've had it in as an Argentine driver and for the wrong team as well. Bit of a loss, at a loss to just how that made it into our system. Of course, our apologies on his behalf. And the mistake has indeed duly been fixed as well. And he'll be hoping for better luck on his next flyer. He needs to get a move on out of the pit lane though here, because time, well, he'll make it if he goes now. He'll have a minute or so to spare, but we are indeed coming towards the closing stages of qualifying here.
Yeah, we are. Martin de Jong still up on the top for Revel Racing, but using, I think, the old Holy Cow Racing for me. I'm not sure if you've got that as well. He's doing a very good job nevertheless, isn't he? I believe this could be his first pole position if he can hold on, but Matthew Forrest has been getting quicker and quicker lap after lap, so that is going to be a scary thing for Martin de Jong to realise that there's not much he can do apart from drive faster himself, because Matthew Forrest, we know what he's able to do. When it's counting, when it's down to those last few laps, he can just pull it out the bag. So he's going to come through the final corner now, and I believe he'll start his final lap of qualifying. So Matthew Forrest, this is it for him. Will he be able to improve this time by? If not, he'll only have one more shot at pole position. No improvement coming through. So this is it for Matthew Forrest. He's currently sitting in 2nd place, front row start, good for the race, but he will want that little bit more because it isn't the longest run into the first corner here. So pole position is very key because as well, look at how narrow the circuit is. Not very easy to pass here.
No, indeed, and that does make it a track where it's the limit is a line that you'll have to find yourself dancing upon. It's one of the old school tracks as well. And I think you find quite a number of those in on the British Isles, indeed, Edward, where the grass is right there at the edge of the circuit. You don't find much of that modern tarmac runoff. It's there's a price to pay, and it's paid in scrap metal and bent carbon. I was about to say broken carbon.
I mean, definitely, if you've ever got a chance to go Cadwell Park someday, Hasse, you'll know what that's about in terms of just no gravel, no niceness, just grass and walls.
Oh, look at Matthew Forrest there.
He's on the limit, isn't he?
Over that crest and just seemingly sliding on all 4 wheels, which should indeed be something that's become more possible. Now let's see what kind of lap time. Is he looking at an improvement here? I don't think so. Which means that he will have to be content with 2nd place Pete Plastow. Indeed, he's done running.
Wasn't it from Pete? really, to get up into the top 3. When we saw him struggling, he's pulled it out where it counts.
Oh, Eric Luke, maybe exiting the chicane there a little quickly and not getting the run he wanted. Oh, we'll have to see what kind of lap he is looking at here. He was very close on his last lap indeed. Here's Nicolas Cocato, the 6th at the moment.
You did actually raise a good point there, Hasse. He wasn't able to get on the power nice and early, and then these BMWs, it's all about getting on the power nice and early, building up that boost from the turbo, and then just absolutely blitzing it out of the corner. So slow and fast out, very key for that car to get to grips with it. You can see there Eric isn't able to improve, but look how close Nick McLaughlin is. We're in for a very exciting race there from all of those top runners as Nicolas Cocato is going to peel off into the pits. No real late improvements for many of the drivers. It seems that the track got to its best point midway through the session and slowly started to taper off, but that means that this man, Martin de Jong, is on pole position. As we say that, actually good to bring that up, Hasse. Track started at 22 degrees. It's now 23, so climbed just a little bit, but that just shows how sensitive these cars are to track temperature changes. It's all about getting the optimum conditions for your lap, Martin de Jong, regardless of conditions or not. That was an amazing lap time to go, fastest of the session, and we'll be starting the 10th race of this season from pole position.
Yes, indeed, and it's his first pole of the season, if I'm very much not mistaken. And we've seen the consistency of this man over the course of the season as well. And he's had his struggles, managed to pull out good results anyway. Pulls into the pits. With that, I think it is indeed time to run through the grid with Martin de Jong in pole position ahead of Matthew Forrest. I'm trying to cue the music for going through while I'm doing it. It's hard to multitask in that sense. Anyway, row 2 is going to be Pete Plastow and Eric Luke, and even more virtual racing compound with Nick McLaughlin 5th, alongside virtual. And that's such a virtual racing compound and virtual racing. That is slightly confusing, I know. Trust me. Me and Ed knows as well. Nicolas Cocato, I'm sorry. Row 3, 6th place for him, ahead of Chris Roberts, Gaston Macaroni, then Bruno Guedes for GTZ Bulls in 9th, and Remco Barlow in 10th place. Timothy van der Broek in 11th, and Chris Peel 12th in the Ford GT. It's nice to see indeed. 13th is Nuno Vinagre ahead of Koen Mulder, our defending champion in the number 1 Ferrari. 14th. 15th, Mariano Lasarte and Stephen Orrell in 16th place ahead of Savino Melido, Nils Cornelis, Alfredo Tricarici, and Matt Sisseler there in the second Ford GT. 20th. for Apex Tech ahead of Sander Kaffert and Gaston Body, Greg Thompson 23rd, and Stuart Jacklin 24th in the two Porsche 911s there. 25th is Cody Steeg ahead of Timo Paya, who currently leads the driver standings. Dirk Brinksma is 27th ahead of Pedro Marimon Crodera. Dirk Reski, Robert van den Heuvel, the Lobster himself, at the back of the third here, alongside Jose Coutinho and Luke Schneider. So with that said, I think we are close indeed to getting the cars on the roll here, Edward.
Yeah, the stage is set here at Oulton Park for an excellent race. You can be sure of that. In just a few moments' time, the safety car, the pace car, will be off. And Martin de Jong will be able to lead the cars behind for the start of the race here with Martin de Jong and Matthew Forrest. They will be battling into the first corner. You can be sure of that. But there's so many virtual racing drivers so close behind, aren't they? They're all very close indeed. So expect the virtual racing compound to be up there and maybe try and work together to try and get ahead of Martin de Jong into these opening stages of the race. And of course, there is the championship equation to think of. Pete Plastow, Matthew Forrest, both contenders. We don't want to see anything end in calamities, especially having two championship protagonists colliding together. Not really something that I think most race fans will be looking for.
Now, indeed, we'll be hoping for a clean start, and so will the drivers, because it's always hard to recover from a bad start in a race like this. Now, look at Martin de Jong. He's taking the tempo out of the field, and there he goes. Oh, and a few of the drivers catching the grass, and they gotta be careful here because the start-finish straight sort of bottlenecks in. So you can easily have a little bit too much confidence now, but a good start from Martin de Jong there. Eric Luke, what a start for him as well, grabbing third place from Pete Plastow. And so far, well, I was about to say it all seems like they've come together.
Chris Pio's on his roof.
Huge calamity at the back of the field. And if we had the... Oh, yeah, indeed.
That's Chris Pio, and that's also, I think, is that Cody Steeg? Oh, there's a big moment there. That's Remco Barlow. We were talking him up at the start, weren't we, about what a good performance he's been showing and his recent return to the series. Oh, he's crabbing a lot. You can see a lot, and then over the curb it spins around. There's no way he's going to be able to get that back to the pits, and rightly so pulls it into pit lane. Now we'll have a look to see what's going on at the moment before going back to have a look at that accident, because look at this. Matthew Forrest closing into Martin de Jong, but not able to send a move just yet. Instead, piling on the pressure. Doesn't want to make any rash decisions this early on into the race. Listen, though, to the engines. Lamborghini and the Audi. Very similar in terms of, I think, chassis, in terms of sort of the wheelbase and the engine, but they both are absolutely amazing. Listen to them scream along, battling together. One-on-one into the final corner again. Matthew Forrest having a little look there, but I think it's more to try and put off Martin de Jong rather than actually properly sending it. So the first lap is in the books here. Hasse Martin de Jong leads the field as he did at the start, ahead of Matthew Forrest. Eric Luke up into third, ahead of Pete Plastow, Nick McLaughlin, Chris Roberts, Nicholas Cocato, Gaston Macaroni, Timothy Van der Broek, and Nuno Vinagre. Your top 10. There was a big moment, wasn't there, on that opening lap, just behind I think those top 6 drivers.
The huge moments on the opening lap. Look at that snake of VRC cars all chasing down Martin de Jong, doing their best to try and rid the Dutchman of first place, but he's doing well for himself so far. Now, I'm gonna just see if we can have a look at what happened here. This is from at Nuno Vinagre and the green flag situation. Remco Barlow, who's right in front of him here, seemed to be involved in the action as well. Oh, so it's up ahead. Oh, and Barlow goes round. And Pio's on his roof as well.
And I think he gets collected when he's on his roof. Oh no, he doesn't actually. I think a lot of cars get out of the way. But look, what on earth happened to get that Mercedes on its roof? This is Remco Barlow. Oh, just the smallest of taps. I think he's out of the way. Was that a bit of netco potentially? Tries to get out of the way, and then, oh my word. There's just a car park, isn't it, on the exit of the first corner there. That is one that's certainly going to get looked at, I'm certain, but, well, let's focus on this instead. And this is Eric. Look, oh no. Oh, I've done that. I know exactly how that feels. I've done that before, and it is not a good feeling. Oh, thankfully he's gotten away with it. There's not a lot of damage, but it's so easily done. You're pushing the limits in the opening stages, trying to get yourself set up for a good later stage of the race by battling, getting yourself into the good track position. Maybe trying to get a good exit to get ahead of the guy in front. But just dipping that one wheel, maybe a couple of inches onto the grass, spins you out and into the wall. It's so hard to sort of correct from a minor mistake. If you made a bigger mistake, say, and you get a full tyre off, that's all right. You're just going to lose a bit of time, but you're fine. But as soon as you sort of kiss the grass, that's it. You're off and there's no saving you.
Very much true. You become a passenger, and it's easiest of mistakes to make. Pushing that a little bit too hard, wanting it a little bit too much. Classic mistake to make, and we've seen it so many times indeed here. Nick McLaughlin is still pushing, still trying to get past Pete Plastow. Now he's very close to the bumper of his teammate, but not really able to make it materialize, or maybe not wanting to. Let's see here, of course, Pete Plastow and Matthew Forrest, they'll be battling out for the championship as well. And a thank you to Jacob for and as well, we do appreciate it. Do our best to bring you that kind of hype, but also relaxed evening vibe here, on, especially on the Sunday. Oh, Eric Luke, a bit of a twitchy moment here. He's on the tail of Savino Melillo. And it seems further down the field that a lot of the drivers have seen the field spread out, maybe as a cause of that huge lap 1, turn 1 incident that we saw down in the midfield.
So, Martin de Jong still leading, but a lot of pressure being piled on by Matthew Forrest. But these two are starting to streak away a little bit from Pete Plastow and Nick McLaughlin. So, is this a chance maybe for Matthew Forrest to start and maybe try and line up a move, or is he going to stay behind and maybe keep working with Martin de Jong to build that advantage? He has time to spare if he needs to start battling and can come through, but actually loses a little bit of time through the chicane. So then we'll come to Chris Roberts. That's a nice sounding Porsche, isn't it? Oh, it's on board. Listen to that Hasse screaming its way out of the Druids over the bump on the exit. Just sounds so nice on acceleration, doesn't it?
And it does indeed. I'm a fan of this machine as well. Did the 24 hours of Spa, this car as well, was I'd say a more pleasant 24 hours of Spa than we've tried having before. Oh, look at this side by side. Almost at least Eric Luke trying to get in on the inside of Savino Melillo. Maybe just feeling the consequences.
Got a good run actually down through right-hander. Could work out for him, you know. And it does. Sweeps on by. So a great little move there from Eric Luke. Set it up nicely to get ahead of Savino Melillo.
Does indeed.
So back up into the top 10 for Eric Luke. This is going to be a race, I think, of recovery rather than of a strong finish onto the podium, just based on that early mistake. Of course, led to him losing out on those positions, but he's soldiering on. Not too much damage been dealt from that kiss of the tyre barriers, so he's carrying on. And Martin de Jong carrying on up in front. Matthew Forrest is keeping him honest, but not really pressuring him that much now. So I think we're into the stage of the race where drivers are maybe not racing as hard, as they're just settling into the rhythm and then thinking what they're going to do for the strategy battle, what they're going to do for the tyre changes, or well, not the tyre changes, but the fuel. Are they going to pit a little bit earlier, go for the undercut, or pit as late as you can? And I think if I was the leader of this race, if I was Martin de Jong, I would pit as late as I possibly can, as we see Alfredo Cicurici. Oh, as soon as he gets onto the grass, he's a passenger, and that gets him stuck onto the tyre barriers. Good awareness, though, from all the drivers coming by him, not to make contact. That was scary stuff for Alfredo.
Yeah, indeed, that is a situation you don't want to find yourself caught up in. Oh, as Pedro Cladera just about manages to get back on track. Personally, I think I would have just taken whatever slowdown penalty was coming for me, as I would have had such a situation here. As there has been a problem as well, I'm afraid. A kinder egg of incidents. 1, 2, 3, and the third one's down. So Savino Melillo does something. We've seen that happen before. A touch up the grass.
Luke, and now Savino Melillo.
Round you go. Oh, and Matt Forrest, though, getting closer, it seems. Just about half a second.
He's very strong in his first sector, is Matthew Forrest. But then coming through the Knickerbock chicane, he doesn't seem to get as good of a run. We're going to go on board, though, with Chris Roberts to see how the Porsche navigates this section. Look at the direction change. That's the thing about these cars. The weight distribution does obviously favour the quick directional change, and Chris Roberts doing a good job there, but can't really find any way through. It's virtual racing compound 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Well, technically 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, but for all intents and purposes, this flight is for 3rd place. Pete Plastow, very good effort from him to stay in that 3rd place spot. A driver that was coming into this with maybe a little bit of a worry. He wasn't showing that good pace in practice, but has since gone for a very strong turn of pace. And look at this, Matthew Forrest, fastest driver on the circuit, with a 1:32.450. Excellent time. We started to close back in to Martin de Jong, trying to find a way through, but again, can't easily overtake on this track, so it's going to be all up to the drivers to find out where they can make these small gains. But just look at how much they send. Look how loose the car's actually getting through that island bend and through Shell Oil Corner again. Matthew Forrest, this first sector, you can see he's closing in. He's very strong here, but then going through Knickerbrook, there's sort of a few little mistakes here and there that start coming through. A little bit shaky on the power, but still a good enough run. Normalises the gap to Martin de Jong. And then into the Knickerbrook chicane. What's it going to be like again? Just seemingly losing out a little bit. You can see that the Audi is quite strong there. A little bit of runoff being used. They're keeping the gap as is for the moment. Seeing them go now through Druids. Just look at the commitment you need to get through here. Absolutely send it through. Hit the first apex. Hit the second apex. Power out. Not too much to, of course, worry about the grass on the exit that will end your race. Make no mistake about it. And just look at that. Martin de Jong is really sending the car into the corners. I think he's starting to feel a bit of pressure.
Indeed, and he seems to be getting a little bit loose as well from time to time through the corners and getting a late on the apex there as well. Seems to be a big ask of him. We have to keep Matt Forrest behind, who's been gaining over the last few laps steadily and is now within 0.3 of a second of the car ahead. And the two V10s steadily pulling away though, and the gap down to Pete Plastow is considerable by now as well. 4.45 seconds as he's finding himself quite a bit of company as well. Here, what's happened to Gaston Bordi in the 11 Ferrari, who I think was on the grass. Why he lost a few positions. That car's sort of stricken at the moment here. Plastow, McLaughlin, Roberts, still status quo for those three. Third, fourth, and fifth. Further down, we have Matt Sissler on the tail of Craig Thompson here. The Ford GT ludicrous speed. One of the best liveries, at least in terms of bringing a bit of humor to the party. It's it's great to see.
I wonder if they got a Spaceballed the bumper sticker on the back of that as well. Oh, we do love a little bit of humour, don't we, Hasse? Me and you in the commentary box, and even more so, we love a Ford GT. So that ticks both of our boxes for a car to watch, shall we say? We'll keep our eyes on Matt Sissler, who's having a good performance, currently in 13th. Could crack into the top 10 here, as he's just set the fastest personal best of the race so far. Look at this, though. Backward shot from Martin de Jong. Just see the attitude of the two cars very close together. Look at that tyre barrier as well. So close to the camera, nearly phasing through us. But now look at Matthew Forrest. He's looking to the inside, but doesn't go for it. So Martin de Jong lives to fight another day, but the pressure is mounting corner by corner, lap after lap. Matthew Forrest, very racy, going to try and find his way through.
I'm holding my breath here, Edward. This is amazing. The fantastic race between these two for the lead. There simply isn't a hair between them. And what I could be afraid of is the fact that it might come down to the pit stop. Oh, he goes deep in. Matthew Forrest, full of confidence. Martin de Jong, a little bit stronger on the exit. Doing his best to stay ahead. Certainly not seeming too phased from the pressure coming in from behind. It's a considerable amount of willpower going into that, so to say. I'm afraid we've had issues as well here for Alfredo Tricorici. First time he's found the grass, though that is a relatively benign incident. Nothing too bad came from that indeed. Oh, close to one another yet again here. And then 0.3 of a second. Oh, and it's been a problem here for Gaston Macaroni, though. That's from 6th place, Edward.
Yeah, so, Gaston Macaroni, big moment out of the shallow corner again. Grass on the exit. Another driver falling foul, and that is the thin margins that you have to work with. No runoff to hold your hand. No, just grass and tyre barriers. The way that most of these British circuits are, little room for error. Means you have to be on the very top of your game. Martin de Jong has been able to build out a little bit more of a gap, though, up at the front while all of this has been going on. So Matthew Forrest has to drop back a touch. But then if we come to Pete Plaz there, where we see him in the background through Deersley, just about at the back of the shot there. So that just shows the advantage that these two have over the rest. Good, strong pace being shown from these two, though. Excellent stuff. As look at Nick McLaughlin. He's going to go through on Pete Plasdale, lining up a move, going to sweep it around the outside. Is he going to be able to have the momentum down into the next corner? They will go side by side, still a dead heat between the pair of them. And then look at the 77 of Chris Roberts trying to find a way through. Pete Plasdale slows down and lets Chris Roberts and Nick McLaughlin through. Is that maybe a strategic call? Does Nick McLaughlin and Chris Roberts feel they can maybe go a little bit faster and maybe get back in touch with these lead cars? We'll see if that is the case.
Indeed, I'm not quite sure. I think it's more a case of not taking the risk there for Pete Plastow. It was a tense situation with two teammates in lead as well, so that could have been a heartbreak moment for the VRC team all around, basically. Martin de Jong still hanging on to it. It's about half a second by now, but it's swinging back and forth. It's very, very much still in the balance. Sander Keffer, Ferrari in behind. It's now 7 seconds down to Nick McLaughlin, so they're really running away with it up here ahead.
Yeah, look at Matthew Forrest trying to psych him out, just trying to find a way through, but none coming at the moment. So this battle up at the front is really interesting just to see how it's developing. You can see where the drivers are stronger, where they aren't. So, oh my word, huge moment for Doug Reski. And there's a bit of a car park forming. But I want to see how that happened. Was it just a touch of grass on entry? Because he looked like he turned in miles too soon. I think that was, I think that was a touch of grass before turn in, really unsettled the car. And actually, Hasse, if you remember, that was how my races ended in the sim race as well. BMW trophy, a moment, just tap of the grass on the run into the Knickerbrook chicane on turn in. At a very similar moment. Yep, carbon copy of that, just at the chicane a few meters later. So easy done, but it's catastrophic when it happens because of exactly what we've just seen to Dirk Reski's car.
Well, Chris Roberts gets a poor exit, and Pete Plastow sneaks back up into 4th place. Meanwhile, I'm afraid Eric Luke has had some kind of problem here as well. And that's alongside Macaroni, and they make contact, they touch, and round goes to Mercedes, and the BMW goes straight across the chicane as well. And that is not what we wanted to see, that is for sure. Takes two to tangle, Edward. I think that's very much a case study of that in this situation.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my word. Gaston Macaroni just diving to the inside. But it just was maybe a little bit too late. And Gaston, he's been trying to chase the race, I think, and not go with the flow. He's been on the back foot and has not been able to get the momentum back in his favour as Eric Luke into the pits early, but not too much that he won't be able to make the end of the race. So opting for the earlier pit stop. And actually, when you're in this situation further down the order, that can actually be favourable. If you're stuck in traffic you can't get through, pit that little bit earlier, hope that you're in clearer area with slower cars that you'll find easier to overtake so you don't lose time stuck behind them, and that can work out. So we're going to see what happens to Eric Luke in this situation, how he comes back up through the field, what he's able to gain, of course. Oh boy, listen to that Ford GT, oh my word.
The beast lives, and it lives on in the spirit of Matt Sissler and Chris Pio as well. Chris Pio sadly involved in that big lap 1 incident. Here, Pete Plastow got past there on Chris Roberts. Chris Roberts, however, is by no means letting up an action. This Nicolas Cocato and Timothy Vanderbroek, both of those drivers, now having a peek at podium positions, maybe. Not too long ago, they weren't really looking at much else than maybe a top 10 finish. Certainly looking a lot better by now. Roberts in the 77, the VRC cars near the front, but not at the front. Still Martin de Jong leading here. Chris Roberts trying to get back past on Peter Plastow. All the Chris is just confusing me ever so slightly now. Look at this, Martin de Jong. The pressure is back, and Matt Forrest with another push to try and see if he can get the better of the V10 ahead of him. Audi versus Lamborghini. A lot of the mechanical parts of these two cars are very, very similar indeed. So the visual identity, so to say, is quite different.
So Matthew Forrest, you can just see the car he wants to get past but can't at the moment. So he's going to have to think now, is it worth me staying here for the moment, or do I pit in earlier, have free track space and go for the undercut, or do I stay out as long as possible and see what happens in the pit stop? Maybe if Martin Young comes in a little bit sooner. It's going to get to the point where Matthew Forrest is going to have to start thinking about these things as Pete Plastow makes his way into the pits. Obviously, the pit window opened around about 15 to 17 minutes gone on the race time. So the drivers are well within the margins to make it until the end. After getting filled up on fuel. But we see actually a Ford GT in the pits, and that is, I believe, the car of Chris Pio, but I don't know if that's going to get back underway any soon. You can see it back there, several cars out of the running by the looks of things. Unfortunately, Eric Luke not in the running either. He's all the way down as well. So very, very sad to see that his race will not be continuing on. But we've still got a cracking battle, haven't we? This is going to entertain us right until the checkered flag, I'm sure.
Indeed, and as we've just passed the halfway point of this race, this battle has been going on from the very get-go, and it's still going. And there isn't really anything to suggest that it shouldn't be going all the way to the end of the race. With Martin de Jong having done a brilliant drive so far, not really to set a foot wrong, just being able to stay clear, not by much, but a little, has a bit of ride as well. We'll see what kind of pit strategy is going to be taken on by the front runners here. Closer than ever, dare you say, Edward. But we've seen Matthew Forrest within these 2-3 tenths several occasions already, and yet not really able to find his way in up the inside and able to make a move. Might it come here? Let's see. Might it be side by side? I think Martin de Jong's got the squeeze on Matthew Forrest.
So close, isn't it? These two battling absolutely bumper to bumper. the pit phase has to open for these drivers in the next 5 minutes. They won't be able to go much longer than 5 more like this, burning all the fuel off. So who's going to blink first? Who will be the first driver to come into the pits? Will it be Martin de Jong or Matthew Forrest? Will it be this time around, or will they carry on for one extra lap? I think Matthew Forrest, he's going into the pits now. He's going to come in and out. He's going to hope for clear air. Into the pits comes the Virtual Racing compound number 78 of Matthew Forrest. Now we'll watch this pit stop. Watch where he will come out. Nick McLaughlin goes by up into second place now. Chris Roberts as well up into third with Nicholas Kakato going by. And look at that, the Ford GT back out on the track. You can see Chris Bio, maybe he was watching the stream and has decided, you know what, I will give it a go. Good to see him back out in action. But with Matthew Forrest right up behind him now, in sixth place, but just coming by, you can see a battling pair of cars. He's going to hope to get out in front of it, and he's a look at all of that clear track in front. Now, this is the time for Matthew Forrest to absolutely blitz these outlaps, see if he can get any advantage over Martin de Jong. The undercut could be the thing of dreams if he's able to get it to work. The only other thing as well is Martin de Jong. What can he do? He has to come in this time by, because Matthew Forrest with clear air, I'm thinking that he's probably going to be quick. You can just see at that stage of the race how much pressure he was putting on, how close he was to the back of his Audi. It has to be now or never for Martin de Jong.
A good point indeed, but he does have a lighter car now. There's no tire advantage for Matthew Forrest, so it put the car in pole position. All down to the coolness of Martin de Jong, but he does indeed respond. He responds immediately, comes quite quickly into the pit lane there. Let's hope it's not going to be a penalty for the Dutchman. Let us then see just where he will be compared to Matthew Forrest.
Off Deer's Leap now. Where is Martin de Jong? He has to get going. He's on pit exit now. Matthew Forrest comes across the line. Who's going to be out on top? Matthew Forrest is going to be ahead, I think, out of the first corner. Yes, he is. So Matthew Forrest just in front now of Martin de Jong. You can see the Audi just behind now. But where will that set them instead for the end of the race? Martin de Jong, he's hungry now. It's his turn to try and chase rather than be chased for these final 20 or so minutes of racing here at Oulton Park. This is going to be close because Martin de Jong, he's going to have a point to prove. He's going to try and find a way back through. He set it on pole with the fastest time, so we know he has the pace, but can he find the way through? That is the question of questions here this evening.
Yeah, indeed, and mentally it's just such a difficult position to be in if you're in the mindset of defending and if you're in the mindset of trying to hold what you have, all of a sudden having to try and switch that around to find that little bit extra, go and attack the car ahead. Although it seems Matthew Forrest isn't really driving away with it, so let's see. Martin de Jong might just be able to just settle into it, might be able to find the pace that brought him to pole position as well. Certainly gaining through this final sector. And up ahead, look at this, Chris Roberts, Nicolas Cocato, very close to one another as well. And I expect these two to pit in soon, as well as Nick McLaughlin. Here's Pete Fastow, having pit stop already, but he's being caught by a Timothy van der Broek here. And catching up to Matt Sisseler, who recognizes the fact that he hasn't had his pit stop yet. Could have fought those easily within the limits of reason, so a very gentleman by Matt Sessler to let them carry on the fight. what happened here? Stuart Jacklin passed Robert van der
Yeah,
Leuvel.
just passing drivers in the pits.
Yeah, exactly.
Nick McLaughlin now coming into the pits as well. So from the lead of the race, he will inevitably drop back as Chris Roberts, Nicholas Cocato as well. Expecting a Vinagre. Yep, he will come in as well. So that means that for all intents and purposes, Matthew Forrest and Martin de Jong battle will now be for the lead of the race. They will come by. As we see now, actually quick stop from Nick McLaughlin, but Matthew Forrest, Martin de Jong now into the lead of the race. The lead pair still battling through, but the order has been shifted around for these final 15 minutes. Matthew Forrest ahead of Martin de Jong, and look at Nicholas Cocato just able to get in front, actually, of Chris Roberts. So an overtake in the pit lane. Excellent stuff from Nicholas to get up into 4th place. That was, must have been a brilliant stop from him.
Absolutely brilliant pit stop from the Virtua Racing driver. The number 2 Audi getting the better of Chris Roberts. Both of them coming out ahead of Peter Plastow as well. Timothy van der Broek, though, also in with a shot. And someone's been off, I'm afraid. That is Pedro Marimon Tratera. And it is indeed. Back to the racing here, and the race for 3rd place. Audi, Porsche, Ferrari, BMW. Look at this. And for a series where for a long time, Edward, we've had the Ferrari as the absolute dominant car. Then, of course, the BMW has been strong as well. But right now we have Lamborghini leading Audi, then Ferrari, another Audi, then Porsche, Ferrari, and BMW. So we have all the manufacturers in there as well. Matt Sissler in 11th place in the Ford. We've got Robert van den Heuvel in the McLaren as well. And in a very diverse grid. And it seems that most of the cars are on quite the level playing field as well. Which is, of course, just what you want to see in a series like this. Saying that, Matthew Forrest now just over half a second ahead of Martin de Jong. So that gap is extending ever so slightly. Coming up to lap traffic though.
Young keeping in pace with Matthew Forrest, and they are, like you said, coming up to some back marker traffic now. Obviously, hoping they will stay nice and out of the way and not get involved in this fight. You can see there the Audi of Jose Godinho staying well out of trouble here. And again, Martin de Jong does look a little bit stronger through this Knickerbrook chicane complex, and then up through Clay Hill and into Druids. It starts to even out a little bit more. He's dropping back. That's the main thing. He needs to be there in the picture to maybe capitalize when the tires start to go, when the grip fades, and see if there are any mistakes coming through from Matthew Forrest, because Matthew did take, I think, quite a bit out of his tires in that early phase of the race, but then again, so did Martin. You saw how much they were fighting into the corners, how much they were absolutely just sending it through and hoping that it sticks. So we come into this phase where anything can happen. The drivers need to be absolutely on the top of their game to come out, well, on top.
And on top at the moment, Matthew Forrest, not by a lot, 0.34 of a second between the two. That time's very close between Cocato, Roberts, Plastow, and Timothy van der Broek. 4th through 7th at the moment. Martin de Jong certainly isn't giving up at all here. And I think he's seemingly closing in here on Matthew Forrest. Matthew Forrest, though, could be somewhat comfortable. Oh, that Lambo's very fast through the slower corners. Huge speed. Interested to see how it's thrown in through. Obviously, that is going to make life difficult for Martin de Jong and the Audi. But it isn't as we've seen before with Matthew Forrest, just being able to drive away from whoever's around him. Been somewhat closer this time around here. We're watching Chris Roberts, Peter Plastow, those two on the tail of Nicolas Cocato, and they still have Timothy Vanderbroek as well here for company.
This is just a great fight. Oh, Peter Plastow, big moment on the exit of Druids. How on earth did he keep that on the track? That was heart and mouth stuff from the virtual racing compound driver. That was terrifying just to see. And I'm a spectator. I could only imagine what Peter Plastow was feeling. The heart rate must be through the roof.
That was a huge moment, and we didn't have the best angle on it. It didn't even go off track. So sadly, we're not going to be able to call back a replay of it. Look at Timothy Vanderbroek. He's going to be losing it here.
Does he keep it pointing the right way? I think just about. But
no.
Where is Nuno Vinagre? Is Nuno going to come through?
I'm afraid not. He's lost it, and it's come around at the very end. No, he didn't.
Just like keeps it going. Yeah, kept it on the right direction. But there's Nuno Vinagre, and I think Nuno Vinagre did pass him. Yes, so he only lost out one place, but that could have been a whole lot more. This was Nuno coming through, seeing the car, and he's thinking, I think, well, I'll take that all day long. Thank you very much, said the Portuguese driver. Now up into 7th place.
Indeed. Positions gained. And Martin de Jong now almost a second down. Might have made a little bit of a mistake here as we're into the final 10 minutes of racing. The entirety of the field obviously having gotten the pit stops out of the way by this point. And beginning to wonder if the tire life is going out of Martin de Jong's tires. The Audi seemingly a little off at the moment. And as I say that, he's just clawed back a few tenths of a second here through the final sector. Still about half a second, so by no means over here. Nicolas Cocato, Chris Roberts, and then Peter Plastow. Of course, Peter Plastow did lose out ever so slightly on his pit stops today. He's not going to be happy with that, I think. Again, a lot can happen here in the final, what's left now, 8 minutes of this race, and we've seen a lot of stuff happen in 8 minutes as well in these races before here, as Nicolas Cocato is now finding himself under a lot of pressure as well from Chris Roberts, sensing that there might be chances to get past the virtual racing Audi of the Argentine driver up ahead.
A few things going on in this race, I think it's fair to say. But this is what an evening it has been here. It's still a little while to go just yet. Chris Roberts trying to find a way through. He did lose out in the pit stop phase too. Nicolas Cocato, what a pit stop that was to get up the order, to get up ahead, and to try and, well, break the long streak of dominance that we've seen so far from Virtual Racing Compound. At least in this race, all the drivers neatly packed together, but he's been able to split Nick O'Loughlin and Chris Roberts for the moment. But for how much longer? Because Chris is closing in into these final few moments. Can't find a way through though. The acceleration is a lot stronger for the Audi, it seems. So into the corners, Porsche has it on initial turning, but then coming out, that Audi, very strong indeed. But look at Martin de Jong closing back up there onto Matthew Forrest. Good line as well, actually taking through the Shell Oil corner. You see the McLaren getting out of the way. That's Robert Van den Heuvel getting nice and safe away. Oh, and a little twitch there. Is that going to open the door? You can see Martin de Jong is going to get a bit of a run, going to get closer. He'll have to absolutely send it if he wants a chance of a position. If he was a little bit closer, he could have really pounced there. But you can see that Matthew Forrest is feeling the pressure. He isn't invincible, he isn't infallible. There could still be a late twist in the tail here at Oulton Park.
Very much so. Still 6 minutes of racing left, plus whatever we'll have at the end of it. Sisseler just trying to keep an eye on both these because he's really putting on the pressure here for 9th place against Craig Thompson and the Porsche 911 ahead. 27 machine there off Craig Thompson. Great exit from the Ford GT. Well, not good enough to get past here. Yet again, as we can see in the final sector, the Audi looks really strong.
Then into the first. Those first few corners are really strong in that Lamborghini, aren't they? Really rides those sort of sweeping corners nicely. But then when you come into the chicanes, that's when you get the real just direction change of that Audi. You're going to see though, I love this backward shot, especially on this Lamborghini, because you can just hear sometimes the big bangs and cracks from the exhaust, from the back blast, when the wheels going off. Ooh, actually, we just heard a little bit there of another thing that's new tyres, I think we haven't mentioned, but a little tweak that they've done here and there. Different sounds of the cars going over the curbs on the exit. So rumble strips have different noises now. We might be able to hear it coming out the edge of Knickerbrook. Just a little bit there you could hear.
Well, 4.5 minutes left to go, and it's closer than ever. Martin Young's going to be looking for every single opportunity he can get to just stick his nose in there. Another look. But it's going to be no more than that. Mind you, Matthew Forrest had to be so patient with this, waited for the pit stops, and played the strategy game masterfully indeed. It seems he is reaping the fruits of just that indeed. Here, Scocazzo, Chris Roberts. Close as well. Roberts struggling to get that run as well on the car ahead of him. The Audi seems to have strong straight line pace. I'm afraid we've had a problem here for Sander Kaffa. Oh, touches the grass on entrance. It's a big slide. Gets it running again. Gets it back on track.
Tell you what, Hasse, this is making me feel better about the moments that I had in the BMW trophy, because it shows that every driver has been struggling. It's not about the quickest, not about the slowest drivers making mistakes. Every single driver across the field has found it hard just to get within the limits because of how narrow this circuit is. Just dipping the wheel an inch too far and trying to maximize the run through the corner does have big consequences. So it's not necessarily a signal that the driver's bad or anything. It just shows that they're pushing the limits, which is inevitably actually a good thing, isn't it? They're trying to get as most out of the corner, but it just sometimes can go a little bit south.
That is very true indeed. Seen the gap go up here, and now Matthew Forrest, a little bit of a poor run until the start-finish straight. He lost a little bit of time there, just a tenth, but that could make all the difference in the end here. Look at Chris Roberts, very much within the same sort of gap as Pete Plastow's coming into the mix here as well. He'll surely take any positions and any points that he can get to aid him in the championship fight. Final 2 minutes of racing here at Oulton Park. It's been a great race so far. Very, very close from start to finish. And hopefully what we're going to see for the remainder, albeit short remainder of the race as well here, as there's a bit of traffic and that might open the door as well. Let's see, Martin de Jong gets close. Very close indeed, but not quite close enough. But it's a bit of a compromised line here for Matthew Forrest, and the Audi's on the tail of it. Very, very close, and this might be the deciding moment, but not quite enough, I'm afraid, for Martin de Jong. But oh my word, and hot in the mouth stuff here, especially for Matthew Forrest, getting ever so slightly held up there by the traffic, Edward.
Yeah, that was very hot and mouth stuff, but that is going to put the absolute fire in the eyes of Martin de Jong. You can see how much he wants this now. He is going to be closing through. You can see the white flag being waved now. This is the final lap for these drivers here at Oulton Park. So Martin de Jong through the first corner. He's going to have the lap of his life to get close to Matthew Forrest to try and make an overtaking move into one of these chicanes, most likely the Knickerbrook chicane. He's going to be absolutely on it here. He has enough time to hit McLaughlin, if he maybe makes a mistake, goes off the track, he'll still be able to get up and running, nurse it to the end. But of course, the one thing he doesn't want to do is have contact with Matthew Forrest, so he's going to go hard, but maybe not too unreasonable. This is it for Martin de Jong now, the crucial corner, because it sets you up for this long hilltop straight. What is it going to be? And it's a good run, a brilliant exit, the best he's done all race from Matthew Forrest. He's gotten an absolutely otherworldly run, so this is it. Matthew Forrest, if he can just get through this chicane nice and safely, no mistakes from now till the end, Martin de Jong is going to have a job to get by. And you know what? While Martin de Jong is quick through that Nurburgring chicane, barring any mistake, I don't think we'll be able to take the lead of the race. Pete Plasdo and Chris Roberts goes. As what's happened, Nicholas Cacato? Oh no, Nicholas, what happens here? Is it a tap up the rear? Oh, he does. He gets a slight hit up the rear from Chris Roberts, I believe that was. Yes, it was. And that has left a sour note in the mouth of Nicholas, I'm sure. But what a race this was from these top two. I don't think either driver will be too upset about that. That was an amazing drive from start to finish. Matthew Forrest ended up on top ahead of Martin de Jong, but it was a very close run thing, wasn't it, Hasse? Excellent from start to finish. I don't think there was any real point apart from during the pit stop phase. Those drivers were more than a second apart from one another.
Oh, that is absolutely true indeed. And look at here, Chris Roberts, Peter Plastow across the line as well. Here's Nicolas Cacato. Another look at just what happened. I think that is a terribly timed netcode. I'm not sure they would actually have touched without the netcode. It seems they don't have contact, at least not on our screen. Of course, that doesn't necessarily mean it's true here. Cone Mulder finishing 8th. Sissler, who gets past in the end on Craig Thompson here. It's what happened, as Craig Thompson, I'm afraid, has had a little bit of an off-track excursion. Indeed, that's opened the door for Matt Sissler in the 93 Ford. He's not gone through as well. Cody Steek. Drama there, drama for Nicolas Cacato there in the end, I have to say. Let's see that from... I'm not sure about the netcode, though. It does seem quite close, to say the very least. But well, that is what it is in the end, and bit of a shame. A great race we've had so far, all the way through until the end, separated by just half a second, and won by Matthew Forrest, who reclaims the lead of the championship ahead of our pole sitter Martin de Jong. Best race of the season, I think we can say as well. Nick McLaughlin gets third ahead of Chris Robert and Peter Plesta, with Nuno Vinagre 6th. Nicolas Cacato in 7th place ahead of Cone Mulder. Matt Sissler and Craig Thompson in 10th. Stuart Jacklin 11th ahead of Alfredo Tricorici, Robert van den Heuvel, and Jose Godinho 14th. That's Santa Kappa in 15th ahead of Cody Steek, Timo Paya, and Gaston Bori. That place 19 was Pedro Marimon Cradera ahead of Timothy van der Broek, Remco Barlau, and Nils Cornelis. Chris Pio 23rd. Ahead of Gaston Macaroni, Eric Luke, and Dirk Reski. Savino Melillo and Guedes 27th, 28th. Mariano Lasarte gets 29th ahead of Stephen Oral, Dirk Brinksma, and Luke Schneider at the end. So, Edward, quite the race there at the end. And certainly one that I feel has thrilled us throughout.
Oh, absolutely. That was one of the most exciting races I've ever seen from this this championship from start to finish. A battle from the top two drivers was a real treat, wasn't it? Matthew Forrest, Martin de Jong. Matthew Forrest, though, what an inspired decision to take that pit stop a little bit earlier. Really worked in his favour to come through and get up in front. That was a excellent bit of driving, and we're going to see what the drivers make of it, because I can see that they are in the interview waiting room, Hasse, and I believe you can have a chat to our race leader, our race victor rather.
Yes, indeed. Bring him in. Matthew Forrest, welcome to the booth and congratulations. What a race. What a win. That must have kept the heart rate up for the entirety of the 45 minutes.
Oh my god, it was amazing. I think that's the best racing we've had all season long. It was a great race for Martin. It was just unbelievable. I thought I'd have to pit early just to try and get past him, and it seemed to pay off.
Yeah, indeed, and in the end only separated by half a second, which I think is also one of the closest races we've had, not only this season, but in general. This was one of the best races and the best battles. Do you reckon it could have been a different battle had it been a little easier to overtake than what seems to be the case at Oulton Park?
I don't know. I mean, I've been running all week with and a few sessions with Martin, and he's been just as quick. A bit wider. I don't think it would make much a difference, to be honest. It is such a tricky track, especially on the international circuit, with that first chicane after the shell curve and then going down into the second chicane. You just can't get the run on. So a wider track, I don't think would make a lot of difference.
And coming into the final 4 races of this season, you're back in the lead ahead of Peter Plastow on points now after this race. Were you worried that the missed race of last week was going to have too much of an impact?
I was worried. I was going to watch it while I was in Spa, but I decided to come home instead because of the rain. But yeah, I don't know where Pete finished today, so all I know is that he wasn't second and he wasn't third. So I'm hoping that I can keep in front of him for the next 4 races. But we'll see.
Indeed, I think he finished 5th in the end. Matthew, thanks for taking the time to have a chat with us here post-race. It's been a pleasure having you in. Is there anyone you'd like to give a thanks or a shout-out to while we've got you live?
Oh, the list is long, but obviously you guys, Robert, Martin for an amazing race, and obviously my VRC teammates who keep me honest throughout the whole of that practice all week.
Indeed. Thanks to our race victor, and congratulations again, Matt Forrest, on a brilliant race win and well-deserved celebration.
Yes, thank you. Oh.
So that was Matthew Forrest. We're going to be joined by Martin de Jong, who's ready to have a chat with Edward May.
Okay, some strange things happened.
And welcome, Martin. You've come into the comms box. That's the strange thing that has happened. You've joined us after what's been a brilliant race between you and Matthew Forrest. Talk us through that, because you got pole position, and what was your game plan from then until the first stop?
Yeah, actually what I did, just wait until he went into the pits. But then I just I got myself distracted too much in my in-lap, because I wanted to go, do the pit stop right after Matt. But at the second chicane I almost drove off the track and broke too hard for the double right-hander as well. So I had something like, okay, can forget that, and I was quite surprised I was still on his tail when I exited the pits. But I heard he had some fueling issues in the pit stop.
It was very close, wasn't it, at the end as well? That second to last lap, there was a time where maybe we thought you'd be able to take advantage of back marker traffic, but was it just not to be? Was it not worth the risk?
No, it wasn't worth the risk. I mean, there are a couple of spots where you can overtake, but you really need to have a decent run, so you're already somewhat beside or next to the other car entering the braking zone, and then you can risk it. But I just didn't want to risk going off or both going off. I already saw that Peter also lost a couple of places, so I was just consolidating behind Matthew for the final few laps, keeping close for just in case. But it is what it is, and I'm quite happy with the race. Sweaty, but this is really one of my favorite tracks. I mean, you really need to have full focus all race, and if it's then only half a second at the finish, then I don't care that I came in second. I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, it was definitely one to really enjoy in the commentary box as well. The amount of times me and Hasse went up a few octaves, got very high pitched. I'm sure I'll enjoy watching it all back, of course. But thank you for joining us in the commentary box after such an excellent race. We'll let you have the floor. We'll let you shout out however you want to here on Sim Races World TV.
Yeah, thank you to Robert, of course, for hosting this great series, and also again big thank you to you guys for the great commentary. I always enjoy watching the stream back after the race, especially when Hasse has some nice stuff to commentary. It's always fun. And for the rest, nothing particular. I would say let's all be well and stay safe.
Yeah, thank you very much. You treated us to an excellent race, and now I'll let you go and celebrate with your teammates.
Thank you.
So, that was Martin de Jong who exits the commentary box, but we do have, I believe, another driver coming in to have a word with you, and it is our third place finisher, Nick McLaughlin.
It is indeed all the way from Canada, Nick. Welcome to the booth. Third place for you today after it seems the drivers ahead of you had a really hectic one. Not to say you weren't involved with a few battles here and there, but you seem to have a bit of a more relaxed time, so to say, than both the folks ahead and behind of you. Was that the feeling you had out there on the track as well?
Hey guys, how's it going? It was definitely some survival going on out there. Some guys certainly had rougher races than I did. We got a little bit lucky. I think Pete went wide around turn 1 there. Chris and I snuck by, and basically from then on I was just watching the battle ahead of me.
And with the new tire update that's been implemented to iRacing, there's been a lot of talk about it. How did you feel that affected the handling of the cars?
I like the new tires. It definitely makes more sense to me. I actually had a lot of fall off, probably midway through the race. A lot of understeer for me, and towards the end of the race, it just kind of clicked back in, and I picked my times back up. But there was no catching Matt and Martin.
And coming into the last 4 rounds of the season, you've been competitive all the way throughout. It seems you've only been missing the last few bits and bobs to maybe get yourself a race win. Is that something you're hoping to pick up over the last few rounds of this season?
Well, I would love to be competitive through the last couple rounds, but unfortunately, I think I might have to miss the next race due to a incoming newborn.
Oh, wow. Well, congratulations on that. And I guess it's one of those situations when real life takes the driving seat.
Yeah, it's a bittersweet. It's some good, some bad.
A big congratulations from us here, Nick, both on the newborn and...
Thank you.
I won't leave people guessing on which one of the two is the grander. Anyways, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. And before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to...
Oh, absolutely. You too, as always. Thanks for Robert to hosting, VRC for just always giving me a fun time out here. We love it. And yeah, everyone enjoy your week.
Well, thanks for joining us as well, Nick. It's been a pleasure. And congrats and all.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
So that was a soon-to-be father, indeed. Congratulations to Nick McLaughlin. And with that, that's the conclusion of the interviews. And with that, Edward, we're getting closer to concluding the race broadcast for tonight as well. Any words to sum it up from you?
Well, what a round that was. What a race. Oulton Park. Well, you can say it's difficult to overtake. The racing that we've been treated to has been nothing short of amazing. Great fights as well through the field. Some that went under the radar, actually. Matt Sisler came through to finish inside the top 10 in the Ford GT. Great drive from himself, of course. But then Martin de Jong, credit has to go to him for fighting hard and very bravely up at the front. And to also bag Revel Racing's, I believe, quote me if I'm wrong, but I think this is their first podium.
That could be. I'm not quite sure on that. We'll have to check on this. Anyways, for an exciting race, it was indeed here at Oulton Park, 10th round of action from the Sunday GT Masters, brought to you by SimracerCoin here on SimRacers World TV. My name is Hasse Rømer. I've been joined by Edward May. It's been our utmost of pleasures having you all along. Do leave us a like if you deserve it, and do subscribe to SimRacers World TV for more great sim racing action. Tomorrow, we do have the SRW NASCAR Cup Series going on. That said, we've got more racing in a few minutes with the Sunday Drivers MX5 Series advertised earlier. We've also got another season of the SRW F3 Series. We'll be starting this Thursday. So plenty of action to catch here on the channel. Plenty of reasons to tune in to SimRacers World TV. With that said, from Hasse Rømer and Edward May, it's been our pleasure. And until next time, take care, have fun, bye-bye.